Here at Paddy Power, we're the home of the Money Back Special, with some incredible offers every single week. Check out the website or app today. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus. BeGambleAware.org.
A warm welcome to the Racing Post Weekend Postcast. I'm Bruce Millington and I'm joined this week by Paul Keeley, Keith Melrose and Paddy Power's Neil Ryan. What have we got on the show this week? We've got an exhibition of speed up at Haydock, 2 group races, 1 competitive, 1 not. Loads of other great ITV action from York and from Goodwood, and it's also a classic weekend, the Irish 1000 and 2000 Guineas. Best bets on all that and all the other good things lurking further down the cards. Paul Keeley was saying beforehand, he said, if you're going to call Keith the Racing Post betting editor, can you just clarify that I haven't been sacked? Because Keith basically took over from Keels. Nothing against Keels, but he's just crap at doing all the admin and the management, and Keith's very well organised, so that's the reason for it. But Keith, congratulations on your debut column, Melrose on Betting, in the Racing Post today, and we've had a good response to that, I think, already, haven't we?
Apparently so. I must have missed all the criticism somewhere.
No, you didn't get criticised.
It was an excellent piece.
Really good. So
Great
check out Melrose on Betting every Friday in the Racing Post, and don't worry, Paul Keeley hasn't been sacked. We've just freed him up to tip winners, and hopefully that's what he'll be doing here, starting with the 2:15 at Haydock. Like I say, it's all on ITV4. It's the Amex Ready Mixed Concrete Handicap over 2 miles. Before Kills kicks us off with the first tip, Neil, how do Paddy Power bet on this one?
So Eden Rose is our 15-8 favourite. We have Pirate King at 9-2, Lucky Deal 6-1, Nikita 7-1, Watersmead and Busy Street are 10-1, and it's 14-1 bar.
Neil sounds bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, which is more than could be said for you, Keels, after a heavy night at Sandown last night. Is this going to affect your tipping?
No, because I have had a massive study up, as usual. I can't say I've got much for Sunday, but I've got loads for Saturday, fancy plenty. All the work was done before.
You don't normally get hangovers, do you?
I get hangovers, but not as bad as the one I've got today, funnily enough. I mean, I do feel unusually bad, but we shall press on.
What we got then? 2:15 Haydock.
2:15 Haydock, yeah, fascinating. Eden Rose is, I've got her down as a drifter. 15-8, can't really have that. 3 out of 4 in the all-weather. Maybe she's just improving, maybe not, but she has a best Racing Post rating of 68 on fast turf, and she's running off a mark of 90. I think she's got to be taken on switching back to turf, and the one I like is former, almost top-class stayer Nikita. I thought he shaped really, really well at Navan last time. I know he was only 8-9 in the end, but he ran like he still got loads of ability. He got dropped £5 for that, puts him on a mark of 100, taking a fair old drop in class now. And he's 2 from 2 at Haydock.
Okay.
7-1, I think it's a cracking each way bet.
Who had a hit with Nikita?
Absolutely no idea, that'd be ridiculous.
Elton John.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I could nearly have got that in the end.
Okay. Keith, you were you were nodding vigorously when Keels said taking on the Jolly.
I wasn't expecting her to be that short. I mean, she has a chance. Her dam only ran on turf, so I'm not that worried about her coming back onto grass. But yeah, I didn't expect her to be that short in a race like this. I think Nikita would be one that has a chance as well. It's a long time since he ran in a handicap off this sort of mark. But Lucky Deal's the one I really fancy in this race, actually. But he was out the back in the Chester Cup. You weren't getting involved from off the back at Chester in that ground. And the time before he'd run at Ripon against Making Miracles, who won the Chester Cup, and he nearly overcame a bit of a pace bias. We know at Ripon on the round course there, front runners are really, really suited and favoured, and he was the only horse that got involved from the back to challenge. He'd been progressive before that as well, and just got loads and loads going for him in a race like this, and it's 6-1 in what's not a deep race. I mean, bar Pirate King, Eden Rose, Nikita, and this lad, I couldn't really have many of them. So at 6-1 in that race, with the market looking like that, I think he's a really good bet.
Neil, are you brimming with confidence going into the weekend?
I've got a few fancies again. It's more on Saturday. There's not much on Sunday. With this race, completely agree with the guys. Eden Rose, she's already on the drift. She went in at 7-4 first off when priced, and then it's drifted to 15-8. Kiel selection Nikita's seen support from 10s into 7s already. But actually the one I like is Pirate King for Harry Dunlop at 9-2. Gets in off a lightweight at 8-8. The typical type for the trainer to improve as a 4-year-old, and ran a perfectly acceptable race when third behind the really impressive Mulga 2 at Doncaster. Anyone who hasn't seen that race, it's well worth a watch back, with Spencer basically taking the piss on the bridle the whole way. I just got the feeling he hit the front a little early, and I'm hopeful that Shane Kelly will hold him up a little bit more than usual as his preferred riding style, just to see out the trip. Can't see him out of frame, so I like the 9-2 at each way value.
There was a lovely Spencer last to first ride yesterday, wasn't there? Was it Sandown last race?
Yeah, it was typical, because if you were there, the amount of people giving him loads of stick for where he was, then he got up and won quite easily, didn't he?
Brilliant. That was really good.
I want to take that point Neil makes about Mugatu as well. That was that was the same night of the Kentucky Derby, and Spencer, knowing he had stones in hand, ostentatiously pulls his horse across horses to go to the inside rail. And he done that at Kentucky 3 hours later and he got kicked out. Easiest win of the season as well.
He's the master of it when he goes well, and he takes the tiger line every time, doesn't he? Love him. 250 Haydock, the Amex Silver Bowl Handicap, 3-year-olds over a mile. Paddy Powell bet as follows, Neil.
Mazaru is our 4-1 fav. We have Oasis Prince at 6-1, Awe at 7-1. Awadram, Spirit Warning and Munamek are all 8s, and it's 10-1 bar.
Kick us off, Keith.
Yeah, I mean, that Masaru form at Sandown is excellent. This is a really competitive race, and even if that form is as good as I think it is, it might not be the strongest form line coming in. It's one of those races where there's so many unexposed horses you don't really know. Did like that form a lot. You had Migration finishing second, who probably shaped best, to be quite honest, and then obviously won it at a short odds next time at Newmarket and won well. But also Masteru, who was well placed, tied up a bit at the end and is bred to be a sprinter. And third was Loch Ness Monster, who's since been placed again round Haydock. He's probably grown up a bit this season in some big handicaps, and I think the way he goes through his races now will be suited by a big field. I wouldn't say likely a winner than Masaru, but he gets a £3 pool, and at the relative prices I would probably just err towards him. I think he was about 12s where I saw. I don't know what price Paddy Power are, but you're looking at that sort of price, and I think at relative odds he might be a slightly better each way bet than Masaru at the prices he's being offered at.
A man in a tartan tie is tipping the Loch Ness Monster. Neil, your go.
Yeah, Loch Ness Monster is 12s. Just should mention as well, we're paying 5 places instead of 4 in this race, so there's some good each way value there. The one I like is Awe for William Haggis and Martin Dwyer. It's a very similar profile for the first 2 horses that were home in this race last year, with only 4 runs. Ran a really nice race over 7 furlongs at Ascot last time. Came runner up to a really nice tie from the Hannon camp. It was a 6-runner race that day. He just didn't get the cover he needed and was very keen. And they absolutely crawled, and they kind of turned into a sprint. Now, his dad is Beta Brett, who had bags of speed, but I think this fella is just a little bit different. He has a big long stride, looks more of a galloper, and it must have come from the dam side. I just think the extra step up, and with the bigger field, I think he's a good each way shout at 7-1.
And who do you like, Kills?
Yeah. One of the ones I was looking at earlier in the week was Awe. It just worries me that I think he might want a bit of softer ground, and it's probably going to be very fast. I mean, that would be my issue with him. He was the one I liked at the head of the market. Now, when you see that Masaru's 4s and Oasis Prince's 6s, Keith has hit the nail right on the head. Loch Ness Monster's a stupid price. He's got form with both of them, only just beat by both of them. He's better off. He's now got a claimer taking £5 off as well. He's got the best draw. Masaru's 16. You very rarely win this race from a wide draw. So he's got everything going for him. He's a stupid price. He shouldn't be 12-1. He will be shorter.
What do you think on ground for him?
I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be fine. Yeah.
He's a big horse.
Yeah. But I just think the way he moves, he'll be all right. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. 2 tips for the Loch Ness Monster. 3.25. We don't need to dwell on this too long because Calix is very, very short. It's the Sandy Lane Stakes, sponsored by Armstrong Aggregates. Group 2 for the 3-year-olds over 6 furlongs. And Calix, after his brilliant reappearance, he's very, very short, isn't he, Neil?
Yeah, he's shortened now again into 1-5. We have Hello Yumzane at 6-1, Royal Intervention at 12s, and True Mason at 14s. Any
angle at all where we can make a few quid here, Neil?
No, it's like Calix just wins. The only way you could oppose him would if the ground was a little bit softer. You might have given more of an argument for Hello Yumzane. The only worries you might have as a Catholic supporter is there's only 4 runners and he's a kingman that travel really well, so it could be keen. But like True Mason likes to make running. Hello Yumzane pulled themselves to the front last time out, so there probably will be a decent bit of pace. The Tory isn't on board, but Haviland rode him to win his maiden, so look, he's unopposable.
Any way we can make money out of this race?
Well, I mean, it's one of those races where, on official figures, he's nowhere near as short as 5's on to beat Hello Yumzane because there's only £2 in him, but you just know he's going to win. He just looks like a really, really good sprinter.
Will he win the Commonwealth?
I don't know. That could shape up into a really good race. I'm absolutely certain Jash will be dropping back a furlong after Newmarket, just scrambling home over 7 furlongs. And obviously 10 Sovereigns should be going there as well. It'd be a fascinating race.
It's amazing, isn't it, kid, that we lived for so long without the Commonwealth Cup, and now it's almost the highlight of the week, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, these horses used to run in the Jersey Stakes, didn't they? Or do some try their hand at a mile for longer. It's mad. It was a race that I had always thought the thing we need is a 6 furlong 3-year-old sprint. But as soon as I saw it, I thought, yeah, that's a bloody good idea, that. And it's proved to be an exceptionally good idea. It's a smashing race now. It separates the fast horses from the stayers much quicker.
And it doesn't dilute quality elsewhere, really, does it?
No. I think that's a sort of stock standard call made by people when new races are provided, because they can't imagine what's a different environment from what's already in front of them. It's a smashing race, and I think we need to make the point about this Sandy Lane Stakes that it's not a mug's race. You know, you've got Hello Yumzane went off fab for the Greenham, True Mason was third in the Mornay, and the other horse Royal Event that won a listed race on its second start. But Calix the most exciting horse in training?
He's not far off, is he?
I think he might be.
Not far off.
He's a proper racehorse. You know, we forget that he's only had 3 runs in his life. The first was obviously just a maiden he run in.
Cov was brilliant, wasn't he?
10 days later, won the Coventry like he did, probably against the run of things. And then the only run he's had since was when he dossed up in the Pavilion Stakes. He's a really, really exciting racehorse.
How far will he win this, Keith?
Probably not that far, because as Neil alludes to, he's a bit of a nutter sometimes if he can't settle in these small fields. But today's not going to reflect his chance in the Commonwealth Cup. Give him a big field in a Group 1 pace at Ascot. That's when we'll see what he's really about.
OK, so if the Sandy Lane is a race to watch and learn from and hopefully marvel at what Keith calls the most exciting horse in training, it's slightly more competitive 35 minutes later at 4 o'clock. It's the Armstrong Aggregates Temple Stakes. Group 2 for older horses, 5 furlongs. And some big names running here, Neil.
Yeah, Batashes are 11 to 10 fav, Mabs Cross at 5 to 2, Kashi at 10 to 3, Alpha Delfini 14 to 1, and it's 25 to 1 bar.
I've got to say, Batash v Mabs v Catchy is my sort of race. This is going to be fantastic, Kills. Who's going to cross the
It is. I mean, it's one of those. If this race was taking place 12 months ago, Batash would be freeze on. His best form makes him the best 5 furlong sprinter we've seen for 20 years. He's really, really good. But he was in and out last year. I mean, when he won at Goodwood, that was as good as he's ever been. And he thrashed everything. He's getting weight from Mabs Cross, who's got to carry a big penalty for winning the Abbey. If he's at his best, he'll win. But I just have that feeling that he's just not going to be as good as dominant as he was. A bit like last year. He scrambled home in this last year, off under a penalty, obviously, and I just think Catchy's improved out of all recognition. I know that, most of his form was around a bend, Chester and on the all-weather, etc. But he was only beaten a neck in this race last year when third. He has been third. He was runner-up in the Commonwealth Cup, so he can do straight tracks. And I just think since his wind operation, he's become a really good horse, and even better than ever at the age of 6. And I'll give him a chance to win.
Who are you going to go for, Keith?
I agree with what Keith says that Batash might. Batash at his best wins, but I think he's going to lose his mind. He just looked like he was going that way last year. He has won first time out last 2 seasons, but it looked like his head's just going increasingly, and it's hard to get those sort of horses back. I think he's just a bit of a nutter. So on the day you're as well to take him on, you've got Catchy you can do it with, and the bend point that's made is just because he's so quick out the gates. That's why the bends suit him, because he can get there before anything else, no matter where he's drawn. We saw that at Lingfield. But Mabs Cross has got a penalty, which is absolutely bomb-proof, and a really likeable sprinter. I'd be going on the side of her, but it's a race to watch and marvel at this. You're absolutely right, with Batash especially and Catchy, they're just going to goad each other into it a bit, aren't they? And Mabs Cross could be there to pick up the pieces. It's just got the profile of a really explosive race. It's going to be great fun to watch.
Yeah, it certainly is. Who do you think will win, Neil?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Keith there. It's more, I think, just to sit and watch. Like, I'd be more interested in Catchy if he was an each way price. Again, as mentioned, he's probably better around the bend. Love Mabs Cross. She continues to be underrated, but that penalty probably will be too much to carry. The thing with Patash is, yeah, as mentioned, he's won twice fresh. And I just think, probably 11 to 10 is probably the right price, but I wouldn't have a bet.
You wouldn't have a bet, fair enough. Okay, we'll get some clues for the rest of the season. And if you're looking for clues for the rest of the season, you need this. It's the Royal Ascot 2019 guide. So I'm holding it at this ridiculous angle because it's sponsored by someone other than the company that sponsors this podcast, but bollocks, doesn't matter, does it? They're not going to mind. Anyway, yeah, it's full of great stuff, absolutely full of facts, stats, clues, previews, even some fashion, which I'm sure, Keels, you contributed to.
Oh, absolutely, mate.
£12.99. racingpost.com/shop. A really, really invaluable Royal Ascot punting tool. Let's do Goodwood and York next.
So, does an each-way bet mean that my horse has to do part of the race in reverse?
Everyone loves a newbie. That's why Paddy Power Games are giving all new customers 60 free spins on daily jackpot games. New Paddy Power Games customers only, one per customer. T's and C's apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
Welcome back. Let's look at two ITV4 races from Goodwood next, starting with the 155. It's the Betfair Best Odds on ITV Races Festival Stakes listed race for 4-year-olds and upwards over 10 furlongs. Neil, how did Paddy Power bet on this one?
Vintager at 11 to 4, Extra Elusive 7 to 2, Alarquam 9 to 2, Willie John 5 to 1, and it's 13 to 2 bar.
Tricky old heat. Keith, solve it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I looked at the race before I saw the prices and thought something's got to win this, and Vintager would be a price to go with. But when I saw the odds, everybody's come to the same conclusion and they've made him favourite. I think he's a rightful favourite. There's enough holes in the rest that you can see he deserves to be. His handicap form's really quite solid. He could well go on this year. And stamina, just a slight doubt with him, but it's round Goodwood and he's by Master Craftsman. I think he'll get 10.
Neil.
Yeah, I agree with those comments. I just feel he's probably a little short and wanted to take him on each way. I was interested in Extra Elusive, but I'd be interested what the guys think. I think he actually needs a little bit further and he runs that way. I know he's got the blinkers on first time, but I would rather see him over 1 mile 4. So the one I landed on and I'm taking a bit of a chance on is Alarquam. Obviously, it was a really exciting 2-year-old and highly tried as a 3-year-old. He went off 5 to 1 for the 2,000 guineas and the 5 for the Irish 2,000 guineas. Slightly lost his way, but has now had a wind operation. I don't think enough was made of him with his reappearance. He tried to make all, was outpaced, and then it kind of stayed on up on the rail. So I'm just hoping the extra furlong will suit this. It's his second time after the wind up, which we've seen huge progression in horses before. I hope they make plenty of him, and I give him an each way squeak.
Are you confident here, Kels?
Yeah, I wouldn't give Alarquam an each way streak. I think he'd just win.
It'll win?
I made him favourite. I made him clear favourite, actually. I mean, that race at Newmarket was terrific. You think that Forest Ranger was second. He's come out and won the Group 2 Huxley Stakes. Who was third? Mustachery won the Lockinge. It was a real good race. And he just like so many others that have had a wind up, he suddenly remembered that he could run again afterwards. He got outpaced and then he just stayed on again at the end. And I know that there were great things expected of him and he's probably found his level, but he's better than this. Absolutely convinced. And Vintager was miles behind him that day. I mean, okay, he's come out and run and watched it, but I made him absolute clear favourite, around about 2 to 1, 9 to 4, and he's twice that price. So yeah, I think he's a good bet.
Excellent. 2:30 at Goodwood is the Betfair each way edge handicap for 3-year-olds over 7 furlongs. Neil, take it away with the show and then tell us who you fancy.
Yeah, so our extra place here, we have 4 places instead of 3. Dubai Legacies are 11 to 4 5. We have Flashcard at 10 to 3. Beat Le Bon at 7 to 1. Alakma at 15 to 2, along with Mr. Diamond, and it's 10 to 1 bar.
Who are you going to go for?
I really fancy Flashcard here for Balding. Basically, he was for the 2-year-old Tatterstalls at the Curragh. He was smashed into 6 to 4 5. It's 18 runners in that event. It was a crazy price. He was just pipped by Barbill that day, who's rated 103, and Flashcard gets in here off 93. He only had 3 runs at that stage. Will have plenty. He'll have learned plenty from that. he was getting closer to the winner at the line, so I think the extra furlong should suit. I'd probably just encourage punters to hold off until the day. You kind of know where you stand with Balding's runners, with depending on how the betting goes. So if he takes a little drift, I'd probably stay away, and if he's strong in the betting, I'd definitely have a good punt on him.
Is that's a known rule in the Paddy Power trading office? Is it that Andrew Balding, if they shorten their, obviously all positive support for a horse is a good thing, but it's particularly true with Balding, is it?
You'd notice that just being a punter, there's certain yards, the O'Brien yard, that you generally know where you stand in the market. If they take a big drift, they're probably not fancied that day. Like of course he's in off a break as well, and that's always telling. You'll kind of know, or you kind of feel they're fit and ready to go or not, and the Balding yard certainly get involved.
Okay, don't forget 4 places on this race available at paddypower.com and also on the Racing Post app and racingpost.com. Keels, who's going to win the 2:30 at Goodwood?
Yeah, fascinating. I totally agree about Flashcard. I think he's the most likely winner. If you read the stable tours on the Racing Post, Andrew Balding pinpointed this race as the starting point, so it's been a plan. It's not just he's late to start, this is where he wanted to come. And obviously it's a very valuable race. He's got a better draw than Dubai Legacy as well, who's fav in stall 12. There have been 6 runners in this race, 5 of the winners have come from stall 3 or lower. You've got to remember, it is definitely a draw race at Goodwood over 7 furlongs. And but I'm going to take a chance each way on one of Mark Johnston's runners. He's won 2 of the last 4 run-ins. He's had a 25-1 third last year and another third a few years earlier. Chappelli ran no sort of race last time at Chester. I think he hated the sort of softish ground, to be honest. Time before was a career best in a listed race at Chelmsford. He's got form on fast ground. He's drawn in trap 1. Given the trainer's record, I can't make a horse that has run a career best 2 starts ago 20-1.
Okay, and Keith.
I was basically it's a race where you could pick out any number of them. I was in agreement with the lads about Flashcard, and Les Keel says that he was going to be fit for this race. It's been named for however long. It's the sort of race the Balding Yard targets, and just makes a lot of sense that he will be hard fit for this to win a big pot first time up. So I think he would be the likeliest winner, but it's such a competitive race. I wouldn't take a particularly strong view, but I would certainly be having him on side.
Okay. We move now to York, where there's 2 races on ITV4, the first of which is the 305. It's the William Hill Bronte Cup. It's for fillies aged 4 and older, and it's over 1.6 miles, a stamina test for which Paddy Power bet as follows, Neil.
Yeah, so we have an offer on this. We're money back all losers as a free bet if MBR wins, and he is our 2-1 favourite. Pilaster is 5-2, Made Up 9-2, Dramatic Queen 13-2, and it's 9-1 bar.
Keels, who do you fancy?
Oh, I think this is a whole race. I don't like fillies listed in group races, to be honest. I mean, you just worry that the horses just aren't going to train on. You know what I mean? And Pilaster's come out, got beaten 4-7. Made Up was tailed off on her return. They're the 2 form horses in the race. And we've got Emberhart, who won, what was an okay listed race last time. I might take a chance on Dramatic Queen. Again, needs to improve on what she did first time up. But I think she wants fast ground. And William Haggis likes to get one ready for York, doesn't he? But I mean, this would be the smallest stake of the week, let alone day.
Righty-ho. Keith, any more confident?
Not especially. The point Keels makes is absolutely correct. Fillies group and listed races, I mean, for some reason, just mares, because they get in season sometimes and whatnot, they're just not as consistent a lot of the time, and especially at this level where a lot of them are much of a muchness anyway. It's hard races to take a firm view on. I was really interested again with Emberhart until I saw the prices. The fact that she is the progressive one and Pilaster's been beat first time out has been arguably more than factored into the prices. But it's one of those typical turn-ups that you get in these sort of races if one of those 2 doesn't win, because I think on form and logic the winner would probably come from one of those 2.
Blimey, the boys aren't very confident, Neil. Come on, over to you.
Unfortunately, I'm the same. MBR was the one, but with the offer and the price, I'd take her on. And Pilaster ran as if there was something to miss last time out. It was a shocking run. Made Up was 22 lengths down the field as well. So I'd agree with Keels that probably Dramatic Queen is very small each way stake, but yeah.
Come on, lads, raise yourselves. The 3:45 at York. The William Hill leading on-course bookmaker sprint handicap over 5 furlongs with 1 million runners, 7-1 the field. What could be easier? Neil, give us a show of betting.
So we're an extra place in this race as well, so 5 places instead of 4. Leotis Dream at 7-1 is our fav. Copper Knight 15-2 along with El Astronaut. Duke of Firenze at 8-1, and then we have Marnie James and Ebagum at 9s, and it's 10-1 bar.
Keith, you're going first.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing more sort of steam races this year. It's not my sort of race. I've followed Leotis Dream actually this season, and don't see any reason why he shouldn't run another big race at another sort of speed favouring track like York is. He's dead quick, and he's been progressing at these 5 furlong courses that do suit a bit of toe. He's got another one. He's drawn right in the middle. He's going to go well, and might be the sort of horse where you take advantage of this extra place offer, because I can't see him not finishing in the first 5 or 6 unless they go absolutely wild in front.
Okay, Neil, who's your selection going to be?
I think Leotis Dream is, has obvious claims, winning 5 out of 6 career races, but I'm not gonna tip up the 7-1 fav here. I'm gonna give you a 25-1 winner. Coda Time for Clive Cox. I'm a massive fan of the trainer, particularly with sprinters. This horse is highly tried as a 2-year-old. He was 8th in the Norfolk Stakes. He's had 2 career wins out of his 8 runs, and both times were fresh. So on his debut and last year at York, off a mark of 91. He's now back down to a rating of 94, which is obviously 3 pence higher, but was beaten only ahead in a similar Class 2 contest at Windsor last year off 95, so it doesn't have much to find. I'm playing the angle that he goes well fresh and hoping he can get it. He can at least hit the frame at a massive price of 25s.
I like your style, Neil. Very good. Now, Kills, I owe you a pint. Not that you'd want one now in your hungover state, because last week
That might be what I need,
on the Postcast last week, you were in good form, and one of your best shouts I thought was Duke of Firenze. Brilliant tip. Are you going to keep the faith here?
I am, yeah. He was the highlight of my week last week. I mean, I love these horses that keep coming back, and he dropped miles down the handicap. But the couple of times he'd already run this season, he looked to me like a horse that still retained plenty of enthusiasm. And he was always going to win at Thirst, he just had to get a run. He was always going best. And he's only up, I think he's only up £3. They were going to run him under a £4 penalty at Redcar on Monday, but they decided not to. They're coming here. He loves getting buried in a big field, really strong pace to run out, and there's loads of pace across the track. My only worry a little bit is that he's on a wing in stall 19, but he's going to get buried in the middle of the pack anyway, I'd have thought. And hopefully he'll come through. I mean, he does love the track. He's won a good race there. He's been second in the big field there as well. So yeah, I still think he's got a big chance. He's obviously still around £20 lower than he has been in his life. Obviously, he's not going to get back up to that high again. But these sprinters tend to go on longer than most, and I think he's still very well treated.
Will we see him again next Saturday in the Dash, do you think?
No, because he can't get in unless he wins this by about 20 lengths. But no, that's a penalty race anyway, isn't it?
Oh, fair enough. All right then. A bonus for British viewers, because ITV are showing at 3:35 the Tattersall's Irish 2000 Guineas at the Curragh. A mouth-watering clash between 2 Darn Hot and Magna Grecia. Not necessarily those two only though. Neil, give us a show of betting.
Magna Grecia 5-4, 2 Darn Hot 11-8, Scardu 11-2, Phoenix of Spain 10-1, Decrypt 12-1, and it's 20-1 bar.
Neil, do you have it between the front two?
It's the best Irish 2000 Guineas I can remember. I'm a huge fan of Magna Grecia. I was actually on the show the Monday after he won his maiden, and he was only the second Aidan O'Brien horse to win first time out. He did it really impressively, and obviously he's gone on to achieve great things since. I think he's the one that has had everything fall for him. Everything's gone to plan. His former Persian King stacking up. He was obviously really impressive in the 2000 Guineas. There was a lot of talk about whether it was a draw bias, but the more I watch the race back, the more impressed I am with him. I do think Scardu will close the distance. William Haggis is normally quite dismissive of his horse's chances before races, but was slightly bullish about him before the 2000 Guineas. I think he will get closer. On 2 Darn Hot, look, it's Gosden. He's not going to fire bullets at a race he doesn't think he will win or has a good chance at. I just slightly worried that the last race would have taken a little bit out of him. It was only 9 days ago. Just things haven't quite gone so well for 2 Darn Hot. So out of the front three, I would be sticking with Magna Grecia. The other one that I'm interested in, and the market isn't up yet, but would be Phoenix of Spain without the first two. So I don't know, you probably get about 7-2. I think he might drift. So without the first two, you might even get 7-2, 4-1. You could do an each way play on that. He was only beaten a length and 3/4 by Two Darn Hot as a 2-year-old, and ahead by Magna Grecia and the Verdant Futurity. It'll be a big ask first time out to beat the front two, but I think that might be a sneaky each way play.
Is that a market you'll be doing on Saturday, that without the front two?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Jolly good. Keels, is this the right strategy to bring Two Darn Hot back to a mile?
Well, it's fascinating. There's obviously a lot of talk after the Dante was he didn't stay. John Godson's taken that view straight away. He didn't stay. We're going back to a mile. Now, a lot of the speed figures boys were saying, well, actually, Two Darn Hot was way off the pace, and they didn't go that fast at all, even though the commentator said it did. And Two Darn Hot was faster in each of the last 7 furlongs than the winner. And he's pulled miles clear of the rest. Now, if you were to take just, I love playing a little mind game, and I take one horse out of a race. Yeah. If Telecaster didn't run in the Dante, Two Darn Hot would be 6-4 favourite for the Derby and running in it. And now he's dropping back to a mile. I'm certainly far from convinced that he didn't stay. That he didn't get home at York. I think he stayed perfectly well.
He didn't not stay.
Yeah, didn't not stay. Yeah. Sorry, I think he stayed perfectly well. And now we've got to know, is he still fast enough for a mile? He's bred for a mile and a half. Whether he'll ever get it or not is another matter. The other thing is he's still quite small, so he obviously didn't grow over the winter. But in terms of what he did at York, I think it can definitely be marked up for it. I mean, the Turgenev, who was the other one that made the pace with Telecaster, only really faded away in the last furlong, and he's average. You know what I mean? So that just tells you they didn't go that fast. So yeah, I think he stayed. Will he be fast enough? I think Magna Grecia might be a good winner, but they did race. They did race in a small group, and the second was a big outside on the same side. And talking to Keith earlier, I'm looking at. I went and watched the run of Scardu again. I think there's a lot of dead wood in this race, and I think 8-1 an each way bet. You might find someone daft enough to go 4 places later on as well, because there's 14 runners and they tend to do that these days. I think each way bet Scardu I'd take on again.
Great analysis, Kills, and you get extra points for saying that Two Darn Hot is small, because everyone else says he's not the biggest horse in the world. And why don't they just say he's small? Well done. Keith.
That's 1,000 off his stud fee if you say he's small.
But, it's not coming out of Kills' pocket.
The Two Darn Hot is a really interesting horse to look at. My theory on this horse, because he's had this interrupted prep, the family have a bit of a history of fragility. He isn't a big horse, he's a small horse. And for that reason, I'm just going to keep taking him on until such a time as he might show he's what he was. I mean, I think the spread on getting your fingers burnt will be 0.8. You'll get your fingers burnt slightly less than once, taking that approach with him. So I'm going to sort of take him out of the equation, really. The thing about the stamina is really interesting, because if indeed it didn't go too fast in the Dante, there were quite a few bad rides, probably including on Two Darn Hot. If we're quite honest, if that were the case, I've not actually seen the breakdown of the Dante like that. But so for that reason, Magna Grecia, he was the best horse in the Guineas, no question. Despite the fact there was what they'll call a track bias, I think it was a pace bias myself, what happened in the Guineas. De Souza was a superb pacemaker for him, and that's how he came out on top. But he would have won regardless. But Scardu, as I say, we talked at me and Keels earlier, and I think that horse got possibly the roughest trip of all in the Guineas. He was held up in the unfavoured group, he got carried right as he came through, and we forget it was only his 3rd run. He's still an inexperienced horse. There's still lots of scope for him to improve, and he didn't shape like a horse that's going to instantly need 10 furlongs or anything. So a nice galloping mile like the Curragh will be fine, and an each way bet on him I think is the play in this race.
Excellent, thank you, chaps. Right, what else have we got? We've got the undercards at the TV meetings. We've also got Salisbury, Cartmel and Foss-Lass, plus Chester. Loads going on. What have you got that isn't your nap? Paul Keeley, you've written them down this week.
I've written them down. Well,
for that.
Given my hangover, I wouldn't be able to remember any of the names of them, so they're all there in nice big blue letters. Right, we'll start at Chester. I mean, because there's so many good meetings on, I would normally ignore Chester because it's a massive draw track. But there were two that, if I had a tracker, they'd be in it. Aces in the 255 has just become a very well handicapped horse and ran like it when 4th there last time. I think he'll go very close. He's got a nice draw this time. And again, a trained by Ian Williams, and he got another one there as well, Gossip Column.
I can't hear you if you stroke your microphone. Gossip column.
Gossip column. 3:30 Chester. Yeah, I thought his second run back was a lot better than the first, and he's got form around there. He wants better ground, which he'll get, and he's got a nice draw in 2 at Goodwood in the 4:20. Horse that's been a victim of his own success or his own consistency. Hockfeld. Hasn't won for ages, but he's just dropped down.
That's a bravey, isn't it?
Yeah, that's bravey. Yeah, he's dropped down to a mark below 100 for the first time since September 2017. I thought he ran really well behind Baghdad at Newmarket in a good race. He was only beaten 3 and a bit lengths, even though 7th and 9. Back up in trip, which is what he wants. He has run well at Goodwood before. I'd be disappointed if he doesn't win. Zach Brown is quite interested in the 4:55. Been running on the all-weather. And he's dropped in the ratings on the all-weather. They've dropped him £7 on turf as well for his all-weather runs. He is better on the all-weather, but his turf mark is much lower, and he has won at Goodwood off a higher mark than he's on now. So I think he's got a very interesting chance. Normandy Barrier at York, 2 o'clock. Was punted at big odds at Newby last time over 6 furlongs. Just got outpaced and then ran on strongly in the end. He's come down to a very tasty mark. There'll be plenty of pace in the race. He'll chase him down. Macawee in the 2:35. Just a horse that looks like he's really progressing well for David O'Mara. Is favourite around about the 4-1 mark, but I think he's very, very solid. And 1 at the Curragh, 3 o'clock, the Greenland Stakes, the Group 2. Richard Fahey sends Mr. Lupton over. He's the second highest rated horse in the race. His first time out. He has won in May or June every year that he's raced, so he will be ready. And I think he has to go close.
That must have been hard with your hangover, wasn't it?
It was good enough. I didn't stop, but beat, did I?
That was brilliant. I can barely talk when I've got a hangover, let alone make erudite cases for backing 7 horses all over the place. Great effort. Keith, who's in your roundup?
I've looked at the Mile 5 Plus races, and the only horse I'm going to get really stuck into we've talked about already, so we'll come to him in a minute.
OK. And Neil, have you got anything for us?
Yeah, so I've no tips for myself, but just one race I think that's well worth watching is the Group 2 Greenland Stakes at the Curragh. There's a few nice horses such as Gordon Lord Byron, Speaking Colours, Mr. Lupton, and the return of St. Patrick's Day. I know he's burnt a lot of punters' fingers last year, but Aiden's been more confident about him this year, and they've confirmed they'll stick with sprinting distance. So it might be an interesting one for the tracker and well worth the watch. OK,
thanks chaps, let's get the naps.
This will not be beaten.
Keith Melrose.
Yeah, lucky deal. I just absolutely love his profile coming up to Ripon, where he was unfavoured, and then Chester, where he could never win. And the form both ties in with making miracles. In a race that's not that strong, I think he's a smashing bet at 6s.
And that is where and when?
It is the first race at Haydock, 2:15, I think.
2:15, lovely stuff. Neil, what's your nap?
2:30 at Goodwood. I'm hoping Flashguard gets punted into 15-8 and romps on.
Lovely stuff. Kills?
I'll go 1:55 Goodwood because El Arcam should be about 15-8 and there's more than twice that.
El Arcam. OK, chaps, let's do Sunday next.
Check out Paddy's Rewards Club. Simply place 5 bets of £10 or more across any sport in a week, and you'll get a free £10 bet then next week. T&Cs apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
Welcome back to the Racing Post Weekend Postcast. It's Bruce Millington, Paul Keeley, Keith Melrose and Paddy Power's Neil Ryan. Classic action at the Curragh on Sunday with the 1,000 guineas taking place, and also another Group 1 in the Tattersalls Gold Cup. Very, very disappointing field from a betting perspective. We'll do that race first. It's at 3:50. And Magical, I believe, is extremely short, Neil.
Yeah, she's 2-7. We have Flag of Honour 5-1, Verbal Dexterity 11s, Mustajir at 16s, and Ziba at 20-1.
We don't need to dwell on this too long, Keith, do we?
No, I thought so. Magical's got the form and she's fit.
That'll do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of these races where, you know, I mean, it's an absolute mystery how this race has retained its Group 1 status for so long.
Definitely going to say that, but because the winner always ends up highly rated, but the second, third and fourth are often...
Routinely, in terms of depth, the weakest Group 1 run in Europe every single year. It is Magical's.
It's kind of there to encourage, I think,
it's a trial race. It's
a
trial race for other Group 1s, but it's given Group 1 status.
But it's designed to encourage horses to stay in training, isn't it? To give them something to aim at. Because, I mean, it props up, you know, it's a decent injection of prize money. Otherwise, they're all waiting for, you know, for
goodness knows
what else.
Yeah, but they never run them in it. I mean, that's the whole point. It's a Group 1 race. They never run the horses in it.
O'Brien uses it as a trial for something that's not running at Epsom.
Big shame.
Although I would say the weakest Group 1 in Europe. I mean, it might be the weakest in Britain and Ireland.
But I'm sure Italy haven't got any more, have they? What is the weakest Group 1? I always used to think it was probably the Falmouth, but... You can get some good ones then, can't you?
Well, there's one of those, the Prix Europa in Germany is still a Group 1, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, all right.
Stuff like that,
Start showing your knowledge.
Yeah.
Keels, you got anything to add on this race?
No, that was it.
Okay.
Magical just women.
Same for you, Neil. Magical just wins.
Yeah, I had it in my notes as well. It's just a disgraceful race, and it's just like the Group 1 status is hanging on by a thread. It's probably just there for Coolmore and O'Brien. He, like Lancaster Bomber, was the first time he won it in 5 years, but yeah, Magical wins. If you want to play in each way, there's only 2 places. Flag of Honour did get closer to her last time out, but I think over further I'd be more interested in Flag of Honour, but Magical just wins.
Okay, let's hope the boys are a little more positive, upbeat and enthused about the 425 at the Curragh, which is the Tattersalls Irish 1,000 guineas. How did Paddy Power bet on this one, Neil?
So we've joint favourites with Quibala and Hermosa at 5-2. Just Wonderful is 5-1. East 15-2. Fairyland 8-1, and it's 10-1 bar.
What a good race. Who wins it, Neil?
It's really tight. I was very impressed with Hermosa in the 1,000 guineas. I'm almost convinced, and I think most people are, that she was actually meant to be a pace setter. And Lorden just rode a brilliant race. I kind of want to take her on, though. I'm very interested in her over further. I just think it's going to be very hard to get the fractions exactly right again. The one I'm siding with is Just Wonderful. Look, she's a bit of another weird head carriage, but she's seriously talented. I think the O'Brien yard were really disappointed she didn't run a better race, but she was drawn poorly, never really in the race. Ryan Moore didn't really give her a great ride, but I think he was up against it with the draw, didn't break well. I'd say they could make it a pretty strongly run race, particularly with Hermosa trying to make it a stamina test, and it just might set it up nicely for Just Wonderful to get up just on the line.
I like the way you did a little sort of whinny halfway through that. You went... Keels, who's your selection going to be?
Yeah, it's one of those races where, when you fancy something and it gets beat, you either tell yourself, yeah, wrong, or you go in heads down and say, no, I was right in the first place, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to back Iridessa at 10-1. I backed her for the Guineas. I don't think she liked the ground at Newmarket. I think it was a bit loose. I think she wants it really fast, and they're going to go fast here. She's miles better. I'm absolutely convinced she's miles better than that run when she finished 8th to Hermosa. She was still only beaten 3 lengths. Hopefully, we'll see the right filly on fast ground at the Curragh on Sunday, and 10-1 each way. I'll be smashing away.
Keels?
Wasn't she for the Guineas that day?
Sorry, say again?
She was absolutely smashed in the betting. They really expected a good run from her.
She's definitely better than that, and she's not a 10-1 shot in my book.
Keith, before you tell me who you fancy, I fell in love with Fairyland last year, and I thought it was quite interesting that they ran her over a mile. I thought she might stick to sprint distances. They're keeping her at a mile here. She was 5th in the Guineas. Would you give her any chance?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, this is a race. I think the interesting thing about this race is that most of the field are either probably going to stay 10 or 12 furlongs, or they're not going to stay a mile. I don't think there's many milers in this race. I mean, the Hermosa should probably be going for the Oaks if she hadn't won the Guineas. And plenty of others are like that, and Pretty Pollyanna's got a chance on form but probably won't stay either. So yeah, I mean, it's a funny, if you've got a proper mile that's going to suit what they're probably going to go a decent pace to make it a test of stamina, you've got a chance there with that one. I'm sort of just erring towards Quibala. I think she's the one that's got the sort of mile potential. She probably is a bit more a mile than some of the others, and has the obvious potential to improve just generally because she's had 3 runs up to now, and still could really go on in a way that some others might not. So yeah, she was the one I fell in a little bit, but it's going to be an interesting race from that point of view because I think a lot of them have an interest in making it a bit of a test.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Okay, what else have we got on Sunday? We're over the sticks at Kelso, Fontwell and Utoxeter. And we've also got the Curragh Undercard. Plus, in France, it's the Prix Saint-Hilary and the Prix d'Isfin at Longchamp. What have you got for us, Kills?
Only one, really, mate. Kelso, 335. I don't think it'd be much of a price either, but Cultram Abbey has won the last 2 times he's won at Kelso. Likes it there. Top weight, 12-year-old. You know what I mean? You're not going to get a massive price, but that's the only thing I could come up with for Sunday.
Keith, what have you got for us on Sunday?
I'm going to have a look at the jumps cards in a bit. I'll always sort of retain an interest in the chasers through the summer, albeit they're not sort of priority, but I have looked at the Dispahan in France, and it's a race that tends to suit mile or 10F horses rather than mile-and-a-half horses. There's a few mile-and-a-half horses in there, so Zabeel Prince and Study of Man are the sort of proper sort of 10F horses you've got in this race that I think it's going to suit better, more so than some of the horses that might want a little bit further.
If you were going to go for one of them, who would it be?
Probably Zabeel Prince, I think.
Okay. What have you got for us on Sunday, Neil?
Yeah, I actually liked Wild Illusion in that race, but she's very short, so Zabeel Prince pretty decent each way shout. One thing I'd call out on Sunday, we are money back to free betting all losers in the 10-2 at Curragh, which if Arizona wins, and he'll probably go off a very short price. He's a no-name, never cold, who finished second on debut in the Curragh last time out. Probably the one we're taking on. There's no form to go off of, but Jessica Harrington won this last year with Indigo Balance, and she's Jungle Cove in it, so look, it's probably a play with Arizona more than likely to win. It's an each way play there.
Lovely stuff. Weekend plans, Keels?
In the pub watching the racing tomorrow, and I'm off to Ramsgate on Sunday for a 60th birthday party.
Which pub are you going to be in tomorrow?
Many cousins. I'll be in the Old Comrades Club in Epsom.
Okay. Keith, what are you up to?
I'm getting a visit from my folks from Edinburgh, so I've got the toddlers getting taken away. So it's just going to be me and the wife. We're going to just suit ourselves on Saturday, and then Sunday we're all going to Liverpool.
Beautiful, excellent. And Neil, what have you got? A wild, boozy weekend?
Actually do, yeah. Communion on Saturday and then the sister's birthday on Sunday. So, yeah, very exciting.
Drink and bet responsibly.
Popping into the toilet to have a look at the phone the odd time, I'd say.
That's great stuff. Thank you very much indeed, gents. Don't forget, if you enjoy the shows, please rate, review and subscribe wherever you're listening to us. That includes Spotify now. Don't forget, we've got golf every Wednesday. We've got football on Thursday. Maddie's back on Monday to digest the weekend and then look ahead to classic weekend at Epsom. And we will be back next Friday to look at the Derby in greater detail. Do join us for that.
Paddy Power Games has over 250 of your favourites to play online, and we're going to attempt to name them all in this 10-second ad before the T's and C's kick in. There's Blackjack, 18+, begambleaware.org.